We're in, mate. Thomas Heilman, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. What's going on today? What's happening on this Tuesday for you?
Not much really. Had a practice this morning, and then I'm kind of free the rest of the day, and just kind of get into the swing of winter training, the winter training block. So starting to kind of ramp up the volume a little bit.
Nice. So school is officially done for you?
Yeah, for about 2 weeks.
2 weeks, okay. So you go into this period of Christmas training type thing. This is kind of an American concept. We didn't really do this in Australia when I was growing up. So talk to us about what Christmas training means to you.
Yeah. So the couple of weeks we're off school, training typically gets a little bit harder. We usually do a couple thousand more yards on average per practice, just because we're off school. We have more time to kind of recover between practices. And it's a lot of fun though. Even though the practices are harder, we know that's the 2 week grind where the practices are going to be a little bit harder, and
Mm.
kind of gives us the confidence moving into the spring season to kind of have that base underneath us.
Now, do you guys at least get Christmas Day off?
Yeah, my team. So we're probably a little bit unusual in this sense, but we get like 4 days off around Christmas. Um,
Okay.
but other than that, we're pretty much doubling almost every day. So we kind of have like a 5 day period where we're going really hard, have like 4 days off, and then another 5 day period where we go really hard. So
Nice. Listen, how old are you now, man? When's your birthday?
I'm 16 still, turn 17 about 2 months from now, February.
16 still, man. Listen, I got to tell you, you're kind of making a bit of a mockery of the sport, my friend. You can't possibly swim this fast in this many events at age 16, man. What the hell's going on?
Just I have a lot of great resources around me. I've had great coaches from, I don't know, the last 6, 7, 8 years that really pushed me and understood me as an athlete, and great parents and teammates that have really pushed me and supported me to, kind of continue this swimming thing and do a good job at it, and training partners that really pushed me to be my best.
Mm. Well, you've got some crazy times. I was looking at some of your best times here before we jumped on, and I was also looking at this stat. The fact that you were born in 2007, I was like, what was going on in 2007 other than that you were born? So I was looking at it, and it says, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm going to give you some facts here about 2007. So Netflix started in 2007. Can you believe that? Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
NASA landed a spacecraft on Mars for the first time. So that was pretty wild. That happened when you were born. Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone. So here we go. You were born, the first iPhone came out in
Yeah,
2007.
wow.
And then Tesla unveiled the first electric efficient car, the Tesla Roadster. So all that happened in 2007, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, I guess, to have that kind of company. I feel like everyone always jokes about like as time kind of goes on, everyone keeps joking about how like if you're born in X year, like you're not like a real person or whatever. And like that's kind of I'm kind of in that period right now where like people are like, yeah, if you're born in 2000, like it's always the people who are born in 2006 saying like, yeah, those people were born in 2007. But yeah, I feel like I don't know. It's kind of a interesting time, and just everything going on.
Mm. Yeah. Well, listen, what don't we know about you? I've seen a couple of podcasts with you recently. I've seen some interviews. People have asked you lots of swimming questions, but is there something we don't know about you that outside of swimming?
Um, Not really. I'd say I feel like I'm a pretty normal person. I enjoy sports of all kinds. Um, I think I've
What's
said
your
this a
favorite?
couple of times. Oh, probably football, American football. Um,
Okay.
big into the college sports, and that's easy for me because I live like 20 minutes from the University of Virginia. So on Saturdays when they have home games, I'm usually down on grounds and watching. them play, or
Mm.
now during basketball season. Always enjoy going to those games as well. So that makes it easy. And then, like I said, the football in general, like watching the NFL on Sundays is always a mainstay for me. So
Yeah. I mentioned before in terms of how you're so good, and you had talked about family and the support structure around you. Was that kind of the big reason why you decided to stay close to home? Is because you have that familiarity and the family around you and the structure, and being able to go to Virginia was just an easy kind of win there.
yes and no. Going into recruiting in general, I was pretty open minded on wherever I was going to go. I mean, I looked at schools on the West Coast, and um, just going through the process and kind of gauging my options and what kind of appealed to me. Being close to home was one of those things, but it was more so everything else, that the swimming and the academics and the culture and all those other things, that when it was close to home, it kind of just made it an easier decision.
Yeah. Your mom a professor at Virginia?
Yeah, that's right.
What does she teach?
She's in the business school, and she teaches marketing.
Now, are you allowed to take a class with your mother?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm guessing I probably could, but um, I don't think too many student athletes take her class because it's pretty time consuming. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
Are you interested in business? What do you think you want to study?
I think that could be a route for me. I'm also pretty interested in like the human body, maybe just like a physiology or like a kinesiology kind of route, um, and maybe using that to stay in either swimming or sports, as like
Mm,
a coach or like a high performance kind of position like that.
yeah. How heavy is your school in the lead up to Paris now? Have you got like a full slate, and then school ends around what, May? Is that correct?
Yeah, for us, it's like really early June.
Okay.
So I'll have a couple weeks after school ends before our trials. But I mean, I'm taking five classes right now, which is pretty manageable. And I definitely spend a good amount of time on those five, but I definitely have opened up a little bit more room to train a little bit more this year, leading up to the trials and hopefully the Olympics.
Right. And you're just looking at your event list, the range you have is pretty remarkable, from the 50 free all the way to the 4 IM and everything kind of in between, really. Is there an event schedule that you've pinned down for the Olympic trials now?
Not exactly. I mean, I'm pretty sure, given my strengths right now in long course, that it'll probably be between the 100 and 200 fly and the 100 and 200 free. Um, I know the 100 free and the 200 fly overlap, session for session, so I'll probably have to decide between one of those two. But other than that, I'm pretty open to swimming um, the other two. So
Mm,
I don't know. I think I want to keep my options open, and kind of have multiple events to swim there and make a run at the team, because you never know what could kind of happen at those meets, with the crowd, and you never know when someone's gonna have a really amazing swim under those in that environment. So having multiple chances to kind of punch my spot would, I think, will be helpful.
How do you train for that kind of range? I mean, to have the type of speed you have in your frees, your flies, you got some top end speed, but then you've got this ridiculous range where you can go all the way through a 200 and be, super competitive on the world stage as well. So, how's the training for you in terms of figuring out the range?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, growing up, I would felt like I was always more of like a 50 through 200 guy,
Mm,
and more recently with Coach Gary Taylor, who's been with my club for about 2 years now. Um, we kind of tried to start working towards more the 200, 500 free, and kind of the 4IM, which for me, I feel like it helps me um, still be able to hit the hundreds well. And like I said, having that growing up, having a little bit of that natural speed, I feel like I can kind of implement that even though we don't train it as much. And then um, that 200, 400 background kind of helps me finish those hundreds, but also be able to go up to the 200s in long course, especially um, where it takes a little bit more endurance compared to yards where you kind of just do underwaters.
Usually, when you have some speed early at a young age, you don't necessarily love going up. Now, you just said, since Gary's come and started coaching, you started swimming more of the 4 a.m. Are you comfortable there? Like you enjoy that work as well? It's not just the racing; it's the work you have to do for it, right?
Yeah, I've definitely started to like it a little bit more, and I think that's probably just because I've gotten better at it and become more capable of kind of working through those sets. Whereas a couple of years ago, if I was doing the 400 IM practices that I'm doing now, I'd probably miss every single interval.
Yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, so and I know it helps my 100 and 200 fly. Um, and so just having that kind of mindset about it kind of helps me get through it. And um, like I kind of said earlier, with the training group I have around me, we all kind of push each other, and it does make it a little bit more fun.
Yeah, and I just did a zoom in on you, and I'll do it again here in a sec. Just before I got on as well, I did notice you made an announcement about a new partner that you've got. So let's zoom in again and
Mm.
talk to us about your announcement.
Yeah, so I've just officially announced that partnering with a arena, and I'm super excited about that. Been kind of working on it for a few months now, and now just finally announcing it. Excited to kind of be working with them over the next year or so, and I think having their help and their support through the next through the Olympics will be pretty helpful for me, um, and just kind of doing whatever I need to do in preparation for the games.
Yeah, this is unusual for me. It's strange because I got in trouble for taking money when I was a college athlete, and you guys are certainly lining up to do that now. So, talk to me about where it is. I don't know the ins and outs as well as you do. So do you have management? Do you do this negotiation on your own? How do you go about connecting with Arena and actually signing a contract?
Yeah, it's been a little bit easier for me because my club team is also um, kind of partnered with Arena as well, or at least
Mhm.
they. I don't know if that's officially, but like obviously you
Mhm.
see it on our clothing. So
Yep.
our club clothing. So our club definitely gets a little bit of help from them. So we kind of had that commonality beforehand, and then my parents kind of started the discussion with them when we all kind of thought it was um, manageable. And
Mm.
like I said, over the last few months, my parents have been in the main um, kind of manager position, I guess you could say,
Mm.
doing a lot of the negotiating and stuff. And I've been there, kind of listening in and kind of making sure everything's um, going the way I would want it to go and not impacting me in a negative way leading through this next year. Um, but yeah, they've made it easy for me.
Oh yeah, I just put two and two together. Your mom's a business professor at Virginia. Of course, she's doing the negotiating. Like, what an idiot! Your mom might be going to management soon for other athletes, hey?
Yeah, maybe.
Good
But,
little side hustle there. That would be awesome.
mhm.
Um, listen, man, I actually met you when you were 14. A couple of years ago, I was at a meet, and you kind of popped out, and a lot of people at that stage were saying, you got to do a podcast with him, you got to talk to him, and I was very hesitant at that stage because you were just 14, and I just felt like me coming in and doing something like that at such a young age would just add more pressure, and it just seemed early. Even though you seemed like you had a really good head on your shoulders and you were very composed, it just seemed a little early to me. And you're only 16 now, and it just seems like you've just taken off again. Like you're now one of the best swimmers in the world. How did you make that transition from this 14-year-old kid who had some talent to now one of the top athletes in the world in a couple of years, you think?
I think it's a combination of just continually working hard and seeing these little improvements that have
Mm.
now kind of transformed into the final, or like the product that we kind of see now. And um, once again, amazing coaching, and great teammates that have been able to push me in practice and really bring out the best in me over the last couple years. And just the momentum of swimming well at big meets has kind of continued to give me confidence, both in training and then going to these bigger meets where there is a little bit more pressure. Just kind of makes it a little bit easier for me. Like I said, gives me the confidence, and having their support really has helped me out along the way.
What's it like though to have eyes on you from 14, and people talking about comparisons to Phelps and all this big time talk stuff. Like how's that been for you mentally to kind of deal with that and compartmentalize all that stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely cool. It definitely comes with some pressure, but I kind of enjoy that kind of pressure. I feel like when I'm under the pressure, when I'm kind of in the light, that helps me like perform better. And um, I don't know, as the past few years have gone on, I feel like I've been able to handle it a little bit better. And um, my parents really helped me get through it at first, and kind of taught me how to manage it in a way that wouldn't impact my swimming. Because at that age, there's not really much that, or there's, I guess there's a lot of things that could derail my focus, and they really kept me on my path.
Mm. One of the things I noticed too about looking at your times and some of your swims, you do a really good job of swimming your best in finals, like when it matters the most. Have you noticed that about yourself too? Like, are you able to get the best out of yourself in those big moments?
Yeah, I've always kind of been a little bit better at finals, and um, like I said, I feel like part of that is the little bit of added pressure.
Mm.
But also sometimes it just takes me a little bit to kind of wake up. Um, and at some meets, also just trying to manage event loads and all that, and maybe taking a little bit off in prelims when it's possible. But yeah, like at Worlds this past summer, um, I think some of it definitely was just like the pressure and the adrenaline pumping a little bit more, um, allowed me to kind of go out a little bit faster and maintain it without dying too hard.
Right. What about look, we're coming up into this massive Olympic year, 24 Paris. I mean, what an event
Mm.
that's going to be at and swim at. I can't even imagine how awesome it would be to walk out onto a pool deck in Paris and just have billions of people watching. It's going to be wild. But in terms of kind of, and the physical preparation is one thing, but what are you doing for the mental preparation in order, first of all, to even prepare yourself for the Olympic trials? To swim in Indy, to swim in that arena, to have the type of pressure to make that team, to qualify, to be on your first Olympic team. What are you doing mentally? You think that might be preparing you for that?
A lot of it is kind of channeling my past experiences, like this past summer in both Japan and at our trials that was also in Indianapolis.
Mm,
Um, and those big environments where once again the pressure's on and you got to perform if you want to either make the team or win a medal. And um, I think that's really going to help me and continue to have those kinds of experiences domestically throughout the next 6 or 7 months will really help prepare. And then a lot of it just comes from the training and through these next few months, and really, gaining confidence that through the training that I'm going to be capable, and um, capable of performing at that big stage and um, hopefully booking a spot. So yeah.
What is pressure for you? You know, at a young age, at 16. Sorry, I'll go back to this view here. Um, what is pressure for you when you experience pressure? When you feel like um, you know, you're going through something that you're going to have to manage in a way. What is that pressure for you?
Um, I don't know. A lot of it's just like typically at meets, I'm not usually feeling a bunch of pressure. Like walking out for a final at the World Championships definitely is a little bit different and brings out a little bit more than most other meets. But um, for whatever reason, I don't really feel the pressure. I feel like most people probably do, and maybe that's just my mindset or my just mental like preparation. But um, sometimes it's the crowd noise that just gets you a little bit amped up a little more than usual. But in general, I feel like I'm pretty calm behind the blocks, and I definitely think that helps me execute better when the time comes.
Yeah, I think that's kind of why I asked the question because I get that sense too. Like I don't, I get the sense that you handle pressure really well, and it may be that we're looking at your pressure as something completely different than what you're looking at. You're just looking at this as like I've got an opportunity to swim fast in a way, and you're relaxed about that. Whereas we're thinking, oh, he's 16, or he's got to do this, he's got to do that, and blah 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 blah. And we can think of 100 different things that you should be thinking, but you're not thinking those things.
Yeah, I mean, you get to a level. I've gotten to a level where I'm swimming against guys who are older than me. On in most cases, so
Mm,
um, I feel like that hasn't really. I think I've gotten used to that a little bit more over the past couple of years, um, and it doesn't feel weird anymore. Like I feel like those guys who are college age and maybe a little bit older, those are the guys I have to be competing with, and to win at the top level. So
yeah.
I feel like it's something I just kind of gotten used to.
Yeah, I'd imagine, you know, in the past 3 years, you've gone from having people that you know, I wouldn't say idolize, but you certainly were watching and maybe were fans of, and maybe, you know, wanted to emulate in some way. And then here we are 3 years later, you're competing against those same people. Is there anyone that comes to mind that when you've stood next to them on the pool deck or you've had to race them, you've kind of gone back into that childhood of thinking like, "Oh man, I used to really love this guy," you know?
No, definitely. I mean, even like I feel like the main one that kind of showed up this past summer was with like Carson Foster, and
Mm,
swimming next to him, and I feel like we're closer in age than other people that I've swum against, but
yep.
still like when I was 12, 13 years old, like watching him on YouTube at or the US junior nationals and stuff, and seeing him kind of dominate, and now swimming against him and kind of being one of his peers was really
Mm,
cool for me. And same kind of thing with Caleb Dressel in the 100 fly, like swimming in the outside lanes with him or like next to him, um, was really a great experience. And then being able to like him kind of be there next to me when during that race kind of was a weird experience for me because there's been a couple meets in the past couple years where um, I'm usually watching him after I swim in the B final or whatever.
mm.
But then finally racing against him and was really cool for me. And then there's a bunch of other guys like that I watched in college the past few years, and then finally
Right.
racing against them. It's a full circle kind of moment.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's happened pretty quick too, you know, going from 13 to 16 happened like that, and here we are. And what about your first Olympic experience? I'd imagine was it kind of like Tokyo where you really stuck in to kind of sitting there and watching that and dreaming of being an Olympian? Do you remember specific moments of watching the Tokyo Olympics?
Yeah, yeah. Tokyo is definitely my first like full experience with swimming at the Olympics. Like I definitely remember Phelps a little bit in 16, but other than that, like I mean, watching Dressel in the 100 free in
Mm,
Tokyo was probably one of my favorite races of that meet, just because of the battle between him and Kyle, kind of
Mhm.
leading up to that the past few years. Um, and then I thought Bobby Fink in the two distance events doing what he did he was always one of my favorite guys as a in that kind of time frame. I saw him at like a U.S. Open later that year, and that was really cool for me watching him take those two golds. But I mean, on the women's side, like locally having people like Kate Douglas and Alex Walsh kind of break onto the senior international stage for the first time,
Right.
and kind of seeing them at UVA at a dual meet, and then seeing them on TV winning Olympic medals was also kind
Mm.
of crazy.
Right. Yeah. You're walking into a freaky team, man. There's some talent walking around that pool deck, and seems like with your announcement going to UVA and a couple of other guys that you got going there now, seems like you guys are really putting a team together that will contend. Is that the way you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's guys already there who are um, making big improvements, and the culture they've kind of established there is definitely the one that I think we will be able to win with. Um, and looking at everyone who the two classes that are committed right now and will be there in the next couple of years, like this winter, there are championship meets. We all kind of made big improvements, and I mean, I think maybe a little bit biased, but I think overall, like on our guys' side, our 18 and under high school athletes probably swim the best out of anyone in the country.
Mm.
And I think going into the next couple of years, we have a good opportunity to add more guys to that list. And once we're there with the new recruits and the guys who are already there, I think, like you said, we'll have a good shot at winning. Obviously, there's always going to be other teams that have really fast swimmers and put together good relays, but I guess we'll just have to see.
What about you, man? Like, I'm sitting here thinking, what could possibly be? Do you do that? Do you look 4, 5, 6 years down the road and think to yourself, these are the things that I could accomplish? I mean, what do you want out of this?
Yeah, I mean, on some level, yes. There's obviously we'll have a home Olympics in 28, which
Mm.
will obviously be a big goal of mine, and then
Mm.
throughout NCAA, my time in the NCAA, hopefully winning a team championship and doing hopefully like some relays that we could contend with. But I mean, right now my focus is really just on this upcoming summer,
Right.
um, and that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now, and not trying to look too far ahead.
What do you predict in terms of time that it's going to take to qualify in your best events? Just if you were just to throw a prediction of a time that it would take to finish first and second, what do you think?
Um, I think you never really know with certain people coming in and out, but based off this past summer, I think if you're in the 153 range, you probably got a pretty good shot in the 200 fly.
Hmm.
Um, there's definitely been guys like Luke Orlando who was injured this past summer who's been 153 mid before and then along with Carson and maybe a couple other guys that may be a little bit faster, but um, yeah, 153 for the 200 fly. I think the 100 fly will probably be significantly faster than it was this past summer for us. Um, with Dressel likely being um, at least close to back to his like past form and
Yeah.
um, his world record kind of form. With him and Dare Rose and Shane Casas, like that 100 fly final could probably be one of the fastest events of the meet. Um, and then 100 and 200 free, I feel like for the United States has kind of been sticking around the same spot, being like 48 low, 47 high in the 100 free, and then like 145 mid for the 200.
Mm. Right.
Um, which I mean, going into Olympic trials, like always have to expect it being a little bit faster than normal, but I think those ranges will probably hold true, hopefully.
Have you popped a 200 free long course? What's your best there? Oh, yeah.
I went 149 at trials and went 149 a little bit before that at our prep meet, which um, I think I'm capable of being a little bit faster. The 200 free was the day after the 200 fly at our trials, so I think I was a little bit out of focus after making that team for the first time, and just the excitement from the night before probably carried over a little bit. So um, I think I'm capable of being in that 145 range come this summer and contending for a spot, at least for a relay. And I think that'd be hopefully a really good addition to like the 100 and 200 fly um, that I had this past summer.
Right. Now, did you have? Are you going to Doha?
No.
No. Okay. Did you have the option to go if you wanted to?
Yeah, I did. For me, it was just kind of an inopportune time
Right. With school.
with school missing like about 2 weeks of school, and then
Mm,
that block of training that we'd be missing, despite it being I guess it would be a good training meet in terms of the format and how it kind of aligns with Olympic trials and the Olympic Games.
hmm
Um, but I mean, I'll have long course opportunities back here um, to race at like the Pro Series in Knoxville, um, and then, but other than that, like just continuing to keep grinding in practice, and I think just maintaining that training block through those 2 weeks will probably be a little bit more beneficial. Where the main focus is the trials.
Have you had any setbacks in the last few years? Have you had any major struggles or anything that you've had to contend with?
Um, Not on like a big level, I
Hmm
guess. There have been things here and there that um, more so on like a physical level, not so much like a mental level, but um, like I guess one big one that kind of stuck out to me that I feel like actually kind of helped me um, help propel me through this cycle was, I mean, like in 2021, not even making Olympic trial cut, where that was a big goal of mine um, on multiple tries. That I mean, again, like nothing too
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
big, and then um, there's swims here and there that don't go the way you want, but similar to the trials cuts, like there's things to take away and learn from them that um, just kind of help me keep moving and keep me motivated. But like I said, I mean, nothing life changing, so to speak.
Yeah. What about just aging up and, like you said, racing people now that are older than you and going to the world championships and competing on the world stage? Is there anything that you've learned from being a young athlete to being this more mature athlete competing against the best in the world? Are there things that you've noticed that the best in the world do that you've had to make adjustments with? Basically, what I'm saying is, like, have you professionalized yourself in some way over the past couple of years by tightening things up and getting better in certain areas where you may have overlooked those in the past?
Yeah, I think um, the main things are really the little details that um, in the race, but also outside the race, like
Mm,
warming up, warming down, being more efficient in those disciplines, and
hmm
kind of getting through those better, being better about um, getting enough warm down in, and then in the races specifically, like the the little things like the turns and breakouts and the start have really been one thing that I've been able to kind of close the gap on uh, the top level guys recently, um, and just overall kind of staying in my process, knowing the things that work well for me, and things that don't, and trying to stay on that side where um, I know it's going to help me to perform well, um, and avoiding the other things.
yeah. When you walk into a ready room on the world stage, what are the things that you've done especially maybe at the World Championships, that you've learned that may be able to carry over for the Olympic trials, that puts you in the place where you can perform? Like, what's the best 5 minutes before a race for you? Where's your headspace?
I don't. For me, it doesn't really change whether I'm at some local meet or I'm at a World Championships. I'm in there. I'm present. Just kind of taking in my surroundings. Not trying to psych myself out by seeing someone like Lamb or Sean next to me or someone like that. Just focusing on my race strategy, um, what I'm gonna do when I'm in the water, and how I want to execute my race.
Mm.
Like I said, it doesn't really change depending on the meet I'm at, and the the smaller meets before something like Worlds is really where I'm able to, again, kind of see what works, and I'm able to apply it to those bigger meets.
What about putting on the American cap? Does that feel different? Does it do something to you when you put that cap on with your name on the side and the flag? Is there some emotion that comes up when you put that on?
Yeah, there's definitely like some pride that you have putting that on, and knowing that you're representing your country or my country, and um, knowing that you want to perform well, not only for the people back home, but even more so your teammates, who are
Mm,
relying on you to put a medal in the medal count, or even just go best time. Um,
yeah.
and the support they give, the athletes, and the athlete support for each other, and then the staff support for the athletes, really makes it a little bit easier for us to do that. And like I said, we really take pride in putting that cap on, and we always want to perform our best when we have it on.
Yeah. One of the events that you're, so good at is butterfly, and underwaters is a big factor. So in terms of training your underwaters, what are some of the things that you do, and how have you made improvements underwater?
Yeah, it's honestly just been a slow kind of progression through that. Um, Consistently, just being consistent has been the main thing.
You have a
Choosing,
kick count in practice?
yeah. So like, I only train yards for the most part. So if I'm swimming butterfly, I'm doing 9 kicks off every wall, um, which gets me to about 13, 14 meters. Um, and so just being consistent with that um, definitely helps me when I get to the race, being confident that I'm capable of like maintaining that kick count, but also um, having the endurance to actually do it. Um, and like I said, there's been the progression from where maybe 2 years ago I was doing 6 kicks off every wall and a 200 fly, to now where I'm able to extend that distance and go 9 and push 15 meters when I have a suit, like a tech suit on, and have
Mm,
some rest. And definitely gives me some advantage over the guys who are coming up a little bit earlier, taking less strokes than them, and um, just maintaining speed a little bit better.
obviously you're talking about this consistency, and you're talking about this kick count, and you say every wall. Is it legitimately every wall in practice? Like, are you doing it on freestyle? Are you doing it on backstroke? Is it just for fly? Like, how often are you doing these kick count off the wall?
The 9 is only for butterfly. Obviously, breaststroke just doing like a pull
Hmm.
out, and
Right.
then um, free and back usually depends on what kind of work we're doing. If it's like a 4 a.m. training day, it'll usually be a little bit less compared to if I'm doing like a 50 or 100 free and back practice or something like
Right.
that. Um, where in a 100 back practice, I'm also probably pushing 15 meters um, consistently. So
Yeah.
just trying to maintain that uh, that work, and like I said, it allows for the endurance once you actually get into the race.
How are you splitting your 100 fly? What do you go out in? What do you come back in so far?
I think when I went my best time, 51-1, I was out like 24-0, came back 27-1 or something like that,
Mm.
or
Mm.
24-1, 27-0. So
It's quick.
uh, about a 3-second gap. And in that race, I definitely thought I was kind of outmatched in terms of the speed, like the
Mm,
first 25 speed. So um, I was almost sprinting the first 50 just
right.
to like stay out with them.
Mhm.
And then um, kind of having that 200 background, 400 IM background, I think
Yeah,
definitely helped me close well, despite pretty much going 100% the first 50. Um,
right.
but like I kind of said, I'm not really training for a 50 fly or anything, so I kind of got to swim it in a way where I'm able to keep up with those guys who are doing that kind of training, working more often on that first 50.
So you think that's what you've got to focus on a little bit more? Like if like the way I do it is I split it out. So it's like 24:0. Okay, that's kind of max speed. That's about as fast as I can go without, destroying myself. And then 27:0 on the back end. So if you're looking at improvement, you're going to say, well, I've either got to improve my top end, so I've got to go out in 3.7, but it's got to be comfortable. So I've got to do more top end speed, or I've got to come back even faster with my back end. So I've got to look at 26.6 on the back end, which is ridiculously fast. Not many guys in history have ever come back that fast. So it's like, so that's kind of the way I look at it too. It's like, there's a give and take there in that 100, isn't there? It's like I've either got to go out faster with easier speed or come home stronger, which is even more difficult. So then it's just figuring out how to do the training for that, right?
Yeah, and this 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 year I've definitely put a little bit more emphasis on the kind of pure speed
Hmm.
aspect of that 100, which will also help the 200 as well, just being more comfortable going out
Mm.
at a faster pace. But um, just overall, like it's not like a 200 where you can just improve a few tenths on each 50 and you're dropping a second. Like like you said, there's two splits where you gotta either improve. If you're not improving one, then you're probably not getting faster. So
Yeah.
um, like I think the front end is definitely the opportunity, or like it has the biggest opportunity for improvement compared to my back 50, which I think will probably be a little bit better, but probably not as much room to improve. So
Right.
we have put a little bit more emphasis on like that first 25, first 50, and hopefully it'll pay off um, going a little bit faster in a few months.
I'm seeing a lot of people, a lot of programs getting off the blocks in practice now with suits on. Is that something that you do on a regular basis?
No, I don't really ever use a suit in practice. Long course, we use suits in meets a little bit more often, just because we don't have as many opportunities to race long course. So kind of getting those reps in with the suit on before something like trials kind of helps emulate how you're actually going to swim it with the suit on when you're at a meet like trials.
Right.
A lot like never in practice, and maybe a couple of times throughout the fall winter
Mm.
season. I
Right.
obviously at the championship meets, but a couple other times maybe here and there.
Right. Now, what about your 200 fly? How do you train for that? How do you feel most comfortable training for it? Do you break it up into a bunch of repetitive 50s? Do you do hundreds at pace? Do you do 150s, 200s? I mean, some people even do thousands butterfly in the past. So, what's the way that you train this thing?
We definitely we definitely don't hit those longer distances. There are times where maybe we go up to 150s, or we'll do a couple 200s off the blocks or something like
Mm,
that. But in general, like it is a little bit more um, high repeat, like lower distance.
hmm.
Um, but I think overall, like it's the combination of the 4 a.m. training for the endurance, and then
Right.
the 100 training, and like doing 50s on big rests, like 50s yards on like 130 or something like that, where I can really push the speed and underwater speed, and really hone in on the details to improve the speed. And then there's the 4 a.m. training, like I said, to really focus more on the endurance side of the 200.
Right. How many practices a week are you in the water right now, and what's kind of the average distance that you're hitting?
On a normal week in the water 8 times, probably averaging around 6,500, I would say. Definitely have days where we're closer to like 4,500, and definitely have days where we're closer to like 8.
Hmm.
But probably on average somewhere in that like 6,500 range. And um, it's not a lot per se. I mean, compared to what some people are doing, it's definitely more than other people are doing. But
Yeah.
um, w- when we are in the water, when we're cranking out those yards, it's pretty intense, and we get the work we need to get done um, in those yards. And I think my coach Gary does a really good job of kind of giving us what we need um, in that distance without killing us on any one day, and allowing us to be able to come back the next day and swim well again.
What about in the dry land? Are you thinking now, as a 16-year-old, that I need to get stronger? Or are you doing work in the gym for that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a great place to make improvements and just getting a little bit stronger week by week. Um, I'm not lifting weights or anything, and never have, but we have a few dryland workouts a week where we're doing more like calisthenics, working with a med ball a little bit, maybe jumping rope, things like that, where
Hmm.
it's just little things that work on the explosiveness a little bit, add a little strength, but not doing anything crazy that will
Right.
kind of negatively affect the work we do in the water.
Right. I talked to Coach Todd the other week, and he was talking about the fact that he loves resistance, and they're pretty much doing some resistance work every day in practice, and that's what you're going to be walking into when you get to Virginia. So, are you doing some resistance type work right now in your practices?
Yeah, I personally when I'm working on the my 100 fly a little bit more in the afternoons on my doubles, I've been using um like the Destro bucket towers,
Hmm.
which I think have been a good addition that I've started using this year, especially for my speed. Like I said, the opening 50,
Yeah.
um, and then we utilize like our parachutes from time to time. We put socks on every once in a while, and then we use other things like golf balls and tennis balls that kind of restrict your um, the surface area of your hand when you're pulling.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and then trying to think. Obviously, like I we have some like weighted kickboards that make it a little bit harder to kind of stay in a good body position on the top of the water, kind of force you to use your um use your core a little bit more. So it's just things like that that we use from time to time that kind of kind of emulate that resistance. Probably not in the same way necessarily that his guys use it, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely still a little
Yeah.
bit.
What about this? Do you have an event that you identify with the most, that you feel most comfortable with? Like, if you were sitting there daydreaming one day about Paris and possibly being on the podium, is there an event that you kind of put yourself in?
Probably the 200 fly. Um,
Mm,
I think part of that's just because I've already kind of established myself in that kind of position more so than any other event. I definitely feel most comfortable with it, most confident with it. I think I've gotten the most reps in swimming long course in the 200 fly compared to any other event. Um, but yeah, I think if there's one event that I'm gonna take a run at, like getting on the podium, is probably gonna be the 200 fly.
yeah. What's your thoughts on Milak kind of going AWOL the last, you know, period of time, where it's almost like he's disappeared from the sport? I mean, he was dominating 200 flies on the world stage. Do you feel like he's just lost interest because he hasn't had real competition, or how are you feeling about him?
I mean, to be honest, I have no idea. Um, I think it could be a combination of that, or just the pressures become too much. Or, but I mean, to be
Mhm.
honest, I have no idea. Could be any reason really. But I think having him back, hopefully swimming how he has in the past, would be uh, a good addition to the 200 fly. Making it more exciting. It's always fun when there's guys pushing the world record at those meets. It makes everyone faster. So hopefully, since I think he's starting to train again. Hopefully, he's kind of back in that form again this summer.
Yeah. I guess what is the world record? It's 50 point, right?
Yeah, he went like 50.3 or something, I believe, at Worlds last year or 2 years ago, I guess.
I mean, with that logic, you would think that if that we're going to see the first man under 50, 49 would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? But it just seems so absurd. But I guess we're pretty close to that now, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he's really been the only one that's kind of approached that threshold. Um, Leon has gotten close this past summer, and there's guys kind of knocking on Leon's door around that 52 mid range, and then Phelps obviously was 51 mid in his
Mm,
prime. But hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll start to kind of push towards Milak and Phelps's um, range in the 200 fly and make it more interesting again, and more competitive, a little bit deeper
yeah.
compared to just one guy beating everyone by 3 seconds or whatever.
Yeah. A lot of comparisons with you and Phelps, and you taking out some of his records and things like that. Have you had any contact with Phelps at all in your life?
I met him this past summer at Worlds for a short time, and that's been about it. But it was really cool getting to meet him. Like I said, I kind of vaguely remember 2016 when he was in Rio and his kind of last run at the Olympics. But I mean, other than that, like I've obviously seen him on YouTube and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
kind of meeting him for the first time as someone I've looked up to, and someone I've been, so to speak, chasing his records, was kind of cool.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you doing this. It's been interesting getting to know you more, and just fascinating with how good you are at such a young age,
Thank
and
you.
the range that you have. But it's obvious you're doing the work, man, and that's a credit to you and the team that you got around you. Coach Gary's doing a phenomenal job too. So good luck over the next few months in training, and then in the lead up to the trials, man. We wish you all the best. All right.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate. Take care.
So.